Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Toronto Maple Leafs fans, first of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy everything, Happy holidays, Happy upcoming New Year. The Leafs just got off their 3-day break. We were missing some people on the team. We may have nearly lost a couple of other blue liners in this game. But regardless of all of that, the Leafs actually beat Detroit. Thank goodness, on this holiday Friday. It is December 27th, 2024, Game 36. My name is Lauren. This is Game Over Toronto. If you are new here, maybe you're on Christmas holiday, and you happen to watch the Leafs game tonight, and you want to revel in that win because it was a good one. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about how dominant John Tavares and Mitch Marner were combined tonight. We're going to talk about all those things that happened to the defense and the fact that the Leafs managed to chase Cam Talbot out of the net and have Alex Lyon starting in the third period. And we're going to talk all about all of that here on Game Over. But before we do that, really quickly, we're going to talk about Hyperdrive Hockey. Shift into Hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all of the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate and make you think and more. Join Max Van Hout, Daphne Malbouf, and Kevin Laramie every Tuesday and Wednesday to get your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube, on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcasts. Head over to our website, thegameovernetwork.com, for more information. So, like I said, it is Friday. It is the day after Boxing Day. Some people didn't have to go to work today. I did, so I'm working double duty tonight, but I couldn't be happier than spending my Friday night with you fine folks. So, before we get started, if you could just hit like and subscribe, it would go a long way. Share this with a Leaf friend of yours that maybe is sitting down watching next to you. Maybe you're at the Christmas party and you don't want to talk to people, which I can relate to, and you just like secretly have me on the screen like right down here. Just like go over to your friend that you know is a Leafs fan and just be like, psh, just look at this. Anyway, let's talk about this game because, oh my goodness, it didn't really feel all that great to start out. For the first 10 minutes, Detroit was really in control of this game, and it didn't look on paper leading up to tonight's game that the Leafs were really going to have the performance tonight that we were hoping them to, that they did end up having, because a lot of things right off the bat, before we even got started, before the puck hit the ice tonight, all kinds of things happened, right? Yesterday, the Detroit Red Wings actually fire their head coach and replace him with, I wanted to make sure I got this right, with Todd McClellan replacing Derek Lalonde. Todd McClellan was most recently coaching the LA Kings last season before he was fired February 2nd of last year. He has a .598, .412, and .134 in regular season games. He has been the coach for the Sharks, the Oilers, and the Kings, and is now making his debut tonight in Detroit. Now, like I said, for the first few minutes of this game, I mean, we scored pretty early in, which was nice. The first shift was a little bit troubling. We had one good shift, and then Detroit really put the gas on. I mean, we were all expecting them to sort of come out blazing tonight, with the fact that they did hire somebody in the last 24 hours to be the coach, with the fact that Matthews was not in the lineup, and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, good things, right? Chris Tanev is back. He's not injured, at least at this point. Tonight, he did not look injured, which was great. But the first couple of seconds in this game were a little bit tough. I was actually coming into tonight, if I'm being totally honest with myself, expecting a loss because, like I just said, Detroit just had a coaching change. Matthews is out. But, and we're going to talk about this more in the second period, the Leafs, when Matthews has been out, have somehow been this like mystical dark side shadow type figure, which seems to place a very warm, cozy blanket on Mitch Marner that makes him feel safe and willing to shoot, because my goodness, even though David Kampf gets us started, and he does get us started a minute and 55 seconds in, he scores in his first shift, 500th game. Congratulations, David Kampf. We love that. From Steven Lorentz. Dewar gets in a great spot to sort of muck things up right in the blue paint. 2 minutes and 20 seconds in, and then Just a few minutes after that, 7 minutes and 16 seconds in, Mitch Marner starts his onslaught against the Detroit Red Wings. It was a really, really unbelievable play. The whole situation that happened, the entire play leading up to that goal opportunity. It all starts essentially from a shot from the point that goes wide, rebounds kind of bouncing around. It doesn't get to him, and then all of a sudden it does get to Mitch Marner. JT, with maybe the nicest assist of his career, especially his career as a Leaf, getting the primary assist on that goal. Oh my goodness, Jonathan, that's going to be on highlight reels for the rest of the year. Like, that will be probably in the top 25 at the end of the season, when just before playoffs, when they're going through all of this. That's probably going to be on the list, because I don't know what has been in his smoothie lately, but Jonathan Tavares has been ridiculous when it comes to no look between the legs shots and passes, not just this season, but in seasons past as well. The 720 degree goal that he scored against Tampa was obviously the series winning goal. Last season and this season, he has this ability to just be able to perfectly time and deceive the defender that's about to collapse onto him. Tonight it was Moritz Seider. And he basically just does what no one was expecting and passes it to Mitch Marner, which isn't entirely unexpected, but he completely sold the entire team. He sold Talbot, he sold Seider, he sold everybody that was wearing red tonight on the fact that he was going to drive around the far side of the net. But instead, he actually passes it back to Mitch Marner. He one-timers it into the gaping, wide-open net. And the Leafs very quickly go up 2-0. They had 2 goals on 4 shots. I think at that point, the Detroit Red Wings already had something like 8 shots. So, again, even though Detroit was getting more opportunities, the Leafs are just being able to bury theirs a little bit better. There was a whole bunch of penalties going into the third period. There was the Benoit cross-checking without a stick, which is interesting. Because I didn't know you can cross-check somebody without a stick, because cross-checking implies... Where's my stick? Now, this doesn't look right because it's actually like a project, but instead of like this, if you just have your hands up, isn't that just like interference? Like, isn't there a better goal that you could call than cross-checking? Because you didn't cross anything. You just shoved in the back of the shoulders. Anyway, it was called a penalty. And then the Leafs get 2 power plays immediately following that with the Petrie interference. And then to finish off the first period, the high stick against Jake McCabe. Now, again, like I said, we're going to talk about everything that happened to the defense later. That was a play that we're going to talk about in the third period of this show. But that play did not look like it felt very good. It led to McCabe literally having the trainer on the bench pull broken shards of teeth out of his mouth guard so he could put it back on to go back. And so that's how we go into the first intermission. Up 3-0. Shots were tied 13-13. And then when we came back, they again dropped it down to 11. I don't know why. The second period, Detroit really, really decided to push quite hard. For the first 3 minutes, it really was just sort of wave after wave. The first 3 comments I have regarding the second period, and I didn't have many, every single one of them is about Detroit coming in waves, Detroit really hemming Toronto in the zone. I think at one point they had like 4 minutes more offensive zone time than the Leafs did. But they just weren't able to bury Joseph Woll, again, coming out and being another warm blanket on the shoulders of Leaf fans, because his goaltending tonight was just unbelievable. I mean, at the end, in the third period, he does let a couple in, but it was really, he had a very, very good game. He had a very good game. And so, the whole second period, essentially, John Tavares eventually ends up going on the hunt. Benoit got hit in his beignets, and Mitch Marner ends up getting his third goal of the night and getting a hat trick. A very nice deflection from Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Max Pacioretty. A flyby right in front of the net with 3:37 to go. Going into the third period, we were up 5-0. There's a very good chance that in a different universe that we end up actually shutting Detroit out. In the second intermission, they made Detroit decides to make a goalie change, so Alex Lyon came back for the third. There were a couple of penalties against the Leafs, including a camp trip. There was the McMahon cross-checking, which Detroit does end up scoring on. Lucas Raymond finally scores a one-timer, 8 minutes and 17 seconds into the third. And then Edmondson gets a goal off of Marner. He accidentally lets in a fourth goal just against the wrong team. And that's how the game finishes. They end up, the last 8 minutes was essentially just a shooting gallery. It felt like a giant 8-minute penalty kill because the Leafs were just trying to stay alive and clear the puck and hope that it got out. They were lucky enough that they only ended up winning 5-2, and then they didn't get away from them because for a few minutes there, Detroit was really putting the pressure on. So, it was a pretty good solid Friday night game, all things considered. Again, on paper, coaching change. Matthews is out. Tanev is back in, which was great. But we know that this team really struggles when Austin Matthews out when it comes to where we are at center. Now, tonight, every single line stepped up. That fourth line tonight of Connor Dewar, Steven Lorentz, and I have it written down here. Why am I not remembering? And David Kampf was unbelievable. I think if you're being honest with yourself, if you're here, I would hope that you have the same opinion. The reality is, given how he played tonight, there is no reason that we should be seeing Ryan Reeves back in the lineup anytime soon. If we're just talking about how well people played tonight, Connor Dewar, that's not like a conversation anymore, right? Like, it's not, like, on paper in terms of, like, payment, it's not particularly close. Connor Dewar is the better number. In terms of their play, it's not even close. Connor Dewar is faster. He led the team in hits tonight. He was on that fourth line that created a lot of opportunity. He goes out there every shift and really tries to cement himself a place. And the person that he's usually swapped out for is Ryan Reeves. And we know that Ryan Reeves, his main role on this team is like the spirit guy, which congratulations. But it's also trying to have an impact on the ice and not letting the other team get comfortable with the puck on their stick. And Connor Dewar tonight was a nightmare to play against. He was throwing his body like you wouldn't, like crazy. Every time he was on the ice, something good was happening. And even when there was opportunities going the other way, because that line has David Kampf on it, it gets shut down so quickly. Like, this team so far, don't get me wrong, when the Leafs so far this season are playing well and they're scoring goals, they're usually winning games. And the problem is that there are games that are very close where they get close to winning, but they aren't able to generate any offense. And so tonight, they let in 2 goals. David Kampf looked great tonight. That fourth line looked fabulous. Please do not change it. The third line tonight, Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, and Nick Robertson, all having a fantastic game. It's so nice to see that chemistry that they had before the Christmas break is still there. It didn't vanish over Christmas. It's nice that it's something that hopefully we can continue to depend on, because what it was just before the break, I mean, Max Domi had 4 goals in 6 games for Nick Robertson. That's a better rate of scoring than he's had in his professional career, other than, being with the Peterborough Petes when I think he got like 51 goals in 40 games or something silly. But that's the OHL. It's not the show. So for him to have played as well as he has in the last couple of weeks, he's making himself a case. Is it a case to be maybe good trade bait? That remains to be seen. The trade deadline is 6 weeks away, and I think that we are all in agreement that this is not how the team is going to look going into the playoffs. But it's Christmas, so let's not ruin the new year yet. So let's move over into the second period. Before we do that, really quickly, I do want to talk to you about the fact that Game Over is a privately owned business. We are our own business, and as such, we are getting started, and we are having some growing pains when it comes to actually growing it. And what would go a really long way is if you could check out all the sponsorship stuff that we have down below. We have Patreon. We have this an account with this company called The Roosh, where it's crowdfunding, and if we reach a certain goal, we will get all kinds of funds from the government, and it would go a long way. So if you could just check that out, or if you know somebody that is in the place to be able to contribute and help us get our dream off the ground, it would really help us out. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. We're going to talk about the second period here. We are going to talk about John Tavares and Mitch Marner tonight. Now, this is not new. For those 9 games in November when Austin Matthews was out, Mitch Marner and John Tavares were the force that we saw that was not to be reckoned with when John first joined the Leafs. Now, we know if you're watching this, there's a really good chance, and maybe not, maybe you're new, but when John Tavares came here in the summer of 2018, we know because of hockey insiders like Chris Johnston, we know that part of the reason that he came here was because the Leafs at one point basically put together like a video package of Mitch Marner on the ice, doing what Mitch Marner does best. And we know now that was shown to him as kind of a selling point. And when he came here, that first season where he was playing with Mitch Marner, if I remember correctly, it was actually his most productive season to that point in his career. Now, obviously, William Nylander at one point did sort of catch up, and since then it has been like a sliding tile puzzle of who's playing with who every night. But when Austin Matthews is out, and we have an opportunity to see these incredible players play together, I'm willing to say it. I'm going to say it. Mitch Marner is a better player when he plays with John Tavares than when he's with Austin Matthews in terms of impact. In terms of impact on the game, in terms of how they play. Don't get me wrong. I know that Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews love playing together. If you have been to a Leafs game, or maybe you've watched one of the Amazon Prime games on Monday night, where it has like the 30 minutes of footage before when they're warming up and everything, Austin and Mitch stay on the ice for a significant period of time, just them together, after everybody else goes off, just passing back and forth and shooting and building that chemistry. And it's no secret that Austin Matthews loves playing with Mitch and vice versa. It is a known fact. But when John and Mitch play together, there is something about the way that John plays, the way he drives the net, that's a little bit different than Austin is. Austin is very good, but he doesn't drive the net the way John does, where he's going to cut in and just sort of force his way through traffic. Austin's usually, I would say, like an extra like 18 inches to 36 inches away from the net than John is at most times when he gets his goals. You don't really see Austin like banging and crashing at the net very frequently. That is more of a John style. And so I think part of it too is that tonight on the power play, for example. Now they do end up getting one on the Raymond high stick, and it was a really nice one-timer from Mitch Marner, but it was from William Nylander. I find that when Mitch and Austin are playing together, because they do so much practicing passing, they spend so much time passing back and forth to each other. And there are times where it's great, and on those nights, it can feel, it feels like static in the air. Like you can feel the magic, you can feel the lightning that exists between them. But when it's not there, it's really not. And the nights where they're not scoring, it can be really difficult to watch because they're trying to force these plays instead of playing a more simplistic style, which is, it does sort of cater more towards John's style and Pacioretty on the left-hand side. And so I think it's just more proof positive that whenever Mitch is back, they need to leave that line together. It's so good. We have seen it so good both times that Mitch Marner's been out this season. We didn't have Pacioretty last year, so we can't really rule that as the same kind of variable. But in the years past, Mitch Marner, when he plays with John Tavares, is more likely to shoot, which we know when it comes to playoffs, we need that. And that is sort of the crux reason of why so many Leaf fans don't want him to make $13 million. is because if you look at other players across the league that make that kind of money, when it comes to the playoffs, yes, they're good on the assists, but they're also burying goals. And when Mitch is on the ice with Austin, he just doesn't, I don't know if he doesn't think about it. I don't know if he just defers because it's one of the best goal scorers on the planet, which I can't blame him for. He's just a more offensively likely to score when he's not playing with him. Now, I don't know what the answer is in terms of that top line. I actually do think that they should try, maybe not that until it stops working, but I would still like to see Austin Matthews, Max Domi, Matthew Nyes. But having said that, that third line is actually clicking for once. So I don't actually want that to happen until until which time, if it does, until which time that line goes stale. And then I think you make the swap. Now, that means that you end up with William Nylander on the third line. But there's nothing that say you can't double shift people. William Nylander, as we know, asked for more ice time. He has gotten it. There are times where he has spent more than 3 minutes on the ice on a shift because he is able to. There's just something that exists between John and Mitch. It is a certain je ne sais quoi. I don't know what it is. I don't even think that they know what it is. I think if you were to say this to them, they would disagree. And they would say, oh, well, look at how well Austin did that last year. Yes, but for the majority of the season, he was between Domi and Bertuzzi. It wasn't even the best season that he had with Mitch. The best seasons that he's been playing with other people. But again, I understand wanting to make your players happy and let them play with the people that they like. The fact of the matter is the numbers tell us. The numbers don't lie, people. And the numbers tell me, they're telling me, what are they telling you? That if we want this team to be successful in 2025, more successful than they have been in the years past, I think it's important that Austin and Mitch don't play together. At least not all the time. Like on the power play, that's fine. Because, when you top load that power play, it can be very good. The problem is, again, though, is that Austin is, because he's so big and because he is so capable, there is a natural and normal tendency to want to get him the puck because he is so good. I just find that Mitch is more likely to shoot when he's on the ice with John. And maybe it's just because John never scored 50. Maybe it's because he never scored 69. And that's fair. But someone's got to go to that guy with the math. That's what I think. What do you think? Do you think that they should play with each other on the ice, on the same line? Because I think we've sort of seen enough of that. Because we do it in the playoffs and it doesn't work. And it hasn't worked so far very well in the regular season either. Now, before we do that really quickly, I do want to talk to you before we move into the third period. My apologies. Make sure you get your questions in, actually, because after the third period, we're going to go to overtime. We're going to talk about questions. It could be about hockey. It could be about your Christmas. Why don't you tell me, what was your favorite gift that you got? And we'll go over some of the best ones. What was the thing that you were most excited about? And I'll tell you what I got, because I got to tell you, I got spoiled. Before we do that, let's talk about the wonderful Game Over merch that we have. Now, this shirt right here, I actually own this shirt. I wear it more than I should. I actually probably need to wash it, considering how much I wear it. I should probably wash it. I also have the hoodie of the established line. I have one of the goalie shirts as well. We have all kinds of new stuff for winter. We have a brand new Game Over toque, actually. It's very comfy. It's very warm. I highly recommend it. And you can find all of that in the link down below for all of your Game Over merch. It actually really makes me really happy whenever I see people. It's been a little while since I saw some Game Over merch on other people, just saying. But when I see it, it just makes my whole day. And I like to think our community is pretty special, and the whole team that we have, not just in Toronto, but even in the other cities, in Montreal and Ottawa and Edmonton and Calgary and Winnipeg and Vancouver. All of our shows across the network are so good, and we have merch for every single one of them. So maybe you're a Leafs fan, and maybe your cousin is an Oilers fan. I'm sorry to hear that, but you can actually get the merch. I know that Christmas is over now. But, Family Day's coming up. Just saying. And you never really need an excuse to buy gifts for the people that you love. So if you could just actually go check it out, let me know what you think about it. I usually wear like a large. I'm about 5'11" and 200 pounds now that Christmas is over. But let's go over into the third period, and let's talk about all of the damage that the defense took tonight. Morgan Riley got a puck off of the very top of the knee. Did not look fun. He went for a stroll up and down the hallway, was able to walk it off. It's very nice. Came back to the game. Wonderful. Jake McCabe got high-sticked in the face by Lucas Raymond. He lost a number of pieces of teeth. As someone that has lost and smashed a part of their face and broken a tooth, let me tell you how unpleasant it is. And the image of the trainer pulling pieces of tooth out of Jake McCabe's mouth guard may never leave my brain. And then you talk about rough nights. Simone Benoit hurt on a terrible block. They got him right in the basket of beignets. He actually left the bench at one point as well, was back in the room, did end up coming back out to finish the game. Chris Tanev, obviously, last weekend was out. He was he wasn't healthy scratch, but he was nursing a lower body injury. That blue line tonight took some hits. They earned their paychecks tonight. Every single one of them at one point was basically down on the ice for any number of reasons. There were a couple of defensemen that made some unbelievable plays tonight. Chris Tanev very quietly actually had a very dominant night in the Leafs end. It just seemed like anytime the puck got down into the Leafs zone, they were doing a really good job of he was just unbelievable in terms of getting between the puck and the puck carrier and just stopping play dead in the water. It's like in the, you know what it feels like? It feels like the other team is having like a teenage party, and every time Chris Tanev pulls up, it's like the parents pull up in the driveway in the minivan, and it just kills the party. That's what it every time he gets on the ice and every time the puck is in his end, it's so rare that you see him A, make a defensive lapse, B, lose his man, or C, just make a play that isn't good. He is everything that we remember TJ Brody to be when he first came to Toronto. TJ Brody, when he first came here, was unbelievable. And then sort of every year after that, his wonderfulness got sort of cut, percentage by percentage. Chris Tanev has just been just an unbelievable ad. It does so much for our goaltending to have defense like that. Don't get me wrong, our goaltending has been shoddy at best in the last several years in terms of consistency and having somebody that's just solid between the pipes. And I think so much of that this year is how well Brad Treliving has done in the offseason, not only getting guys, but getting good defensemen that are really sound defensively. Now, the other side of that is the fact that I believe we're tied for 31st in terms of points and goals from our defense so far this season. And listen, guys, we're at game 36 here. We are around the corner from being halfway through the season, and we are to be chugging last in the goals by defense category is not ideal. Now, I'm not going to lie, when Craig Berube got hired, I was kind of hoping that he would encourage more one-timers. Now, tonight, that first goal from Mitch Marner, the 2-0 goal, the entire play came up because the puck squirted out to the blue line. It went over to, I think Philippe Myers. He took a point shot. It went wide, but it creates all this chaos. And as a result of that, the Leafs are able to get their second goal in the first period. And it really mixes up how the other team has to play. Tonight, after the first goal and even after the second goal, Detroit was doing just an unreal job in terms of getting in the way of all the shots, all the passes in their own zone, really clogging up the slot in front of their own net. Basically, the entire team collapsed to within 10 feet of the net in just a radius. And so when that happens, the best way to create chaos and be able to feast on those opportunities is to put a puck on from the point. Now, it would be nice if one of those would go on net every once in a while and wouldn't hit the boards. But just knowing that that's a threat and knowing that it's an option, it would make other teams play differently against us. Like, Detroit's a PK is, I think, like, in the bottom 3 of the league in terms of how good they are. Their PK was not good. And we had a number of opportunities tonight where we could have buried them, but they were just doing a really good job of clogging the zone. Don't get me wrong, I know that they lost 5-2. But I think that there was enough good things that Detroit did today that the new coach can feel good about at least taking a step forward. They were doing a heck of a job clogging up the zone. They were doing a really good job maintaining pressure and holding the zone. I don't know how many times the Leafs tried to clear it and it got to the blue line and was kept in by one of the Red Wings defensemen or by Patrick Kane. Like, their whole team really did a good job of sort of maintaining the zone, which was great to see. And if I'm a Detroit fan, it was not how I wanted my Christmas vacation to be interrupted. But I do think that things are hopefully going to turn around for Detroit because, listen, I grew up in Niagara. There were maybe as many Red Wings fans as Sabres fans and Leafs fans in my school. There were a lot of Red Wings fans. And I remember being a kid and I remember what that rivalry was like. And that game, like 15 years ago, you would have had to have police on standby because it was just chaos. And even tonight, towards the end of the game, when Detroit was really doing a good job of creating opportunities and creating pressure and holding the zone and getting pucks on net, and Joseph Woll was standing on his head and basically ray gun kick dancing all of the goals away. There were a number of opportunities where Detroit could have leveled the game up. And that barn can get pretty loud. And I think that the Atlantic is better when Detroit is good. The Detroit, as a franchise, it's had its ups and downs, but I think we're a better league when Detroit is playing well and when that team is doing well. Because I miss that rivalry. It's different than like the Sens because the Battle of Ontario, Danny Heatley and Daniel Effertson continue to haunt my dreams. But even though there was some really tough things, I don't remember hating the Red Wings like I did the Sens. So, I don't know. I hope the Red Wings are able to seize this coaching opportunity and get a little bit better. Now, really quickly, I'm going to make sure you get your questions, and I'm going to take a sip of my drink. And I hope I see your questions in the chat, and we're going to get to the overtime period in just 1 second here. All right. So, let's look at these questions. Dr. Firewater, sup, girl? When you start again? I just saw you first time since original run. What's up, buddy? Welcome back. We actually started up again. We did some of the stuff in the playoffs, and then we were back at the beginning of the season. So happy to have you. Happy you found us back. Luke Venables, I'm so sad Matthews isn't going to play tomorrow. I'm taking my family to the game. My boys would have loved to see him in person. Well, maybe he will be there, just not in a uniform. Maybe you'll run into him in the hallway or something. Wouldn't that be cool? Revo has been done for a while, but he keeps getting in. I don't get it. Yeah, me neither, man. Me either. Music for Al. Matthews, Nylander, Nyes, Marner, Tavares, Pacioretty, Domi, McMahon, Robertson, Camp, Dewar, Lorentz. I mean, I'm fine with that. I'd be great with that. Luke Venables, again, with the questions. Thank you for posting your questions. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Is Berube hockey just more tiring than Keefe? November's schedule was light and the Buds won heaps. December has a harsh schedule and they're losing more. Are they just exhausted? I think it's that. Luke, because you live very far, 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 far away, you wouldn't know this right now, but because it's winter, and it's actually like, we had a white Christmas here where there was snow on the ground. It was beautiful. People are getting sick left, right, and center. I know at least 4 people in my workplace were out with food poisoning or norovirus in the last 10 days. I think that is probably part of it. I do think that them having such a light November was actually kind of detrimental because I think they got a little bit soft and squidgy. So that's what I think it is more than Berube hockey. I mean, I do think that they're playing more physical, which is good. And if they're tired, then I think part of it is just it's only been 36 games of this different play style, so it takes a while to build that kind of stamina up. At least that's what I would hope, right? They weren't Red Wings fans, they were Stevie Y fans because he was Captain Canada. Yeah, that's fair. Go Leafs go. Quick question. Well, should we bother trying to get Nazem Kadri, or is that a sentimental homer decision making? Ooh, good question, Hadoken. That's so good I wasn't prepared for it. Dang. Not usually without words. Trying to get Naz. I mean, I think that those conversations have already happened. I think that they've probably already asked. I think that if Brad Treliving was not the GM, it's more likely. I think that Calgary is still bitter, which is fine. Actually, really quickly, while we're talking about it, let me check where Calgary's at, or maybe somebody in the chat can let me know. In terms of the standings, I haven't looked at the standings in the West in, quite a little while. Quite a little while. Leagues, NHL, standings. Okay, here we go. Central Division, no, we're looking for the Pacific. So the Flames, actually, they're not doing too badly. They're just one win behind Vancouver. There are a couple wins behind the Kings, but they're chasing the Canucks. They probably won't reach the Knights or the Oilers, but they're still in contention, man. I mean, the West is actually closer than I was expecting it to be. So with that, I think that unless something falls off, I would be surprised if Calgary actually made that trade. I think it's way more likely that the Leafs end up trading with the Predators. I think that even though that line of Forsberg, Stamkos, I think Chandler Stevenson or Jonathan Marsh or so. I know that that's been clicking the last couple days, but I think it's a lot more likely that we end up making a trade with the Blues. Because I don't see us making a trade with the Islanders or the Rangers. And I don't think the Flyers would be willing to trade any of their good pieces. I do think that there is a small chance that the Leafs actually make a trade with Columbus. And I'll tell you why. There is a player on Columbus that I think would be a wonderful Leaf. Now, he would probably cost a lot. And I understand that this is a steeplechase here. But I actually think that if they got Matthew Olivier, he would be a great addition. The only thing is he plays right, and we already have enough of those. But I think that that's the kind of player that the Leafs need to go after. So I think, if anything, they're more likely to make a trade with Columbus. But thank you for asking a great question. Matt Wilkins. Welcome back, Matt. We are feeling pretty good about sending Holloway, huh? Oh, my goodness. Yep, I did not miss those plays. My goodness. My goodness. Stammer to the 6. I mean, wouldn't that be just like the best revenge? He goes and plays for the other blue and white team. The one that actually is from where he's from and didn't steal another team's colors. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, I mean, Steven Stamkos, I think it was it the year or 2 years before? I guess it must have been a year. A year before we signed John Tavares, there was a huge push in Toronto to try and get Stamkos. Like, if I remember correctly, like, Canadian Tire basically said outright that they were willing to give him a sponsorship to make up the difference on what he would lose in taxes. And I'm pretty sure the mayor at the time, John Tory, gave him a key to the city without actually signing anything. So I think that the Leafs have always been interested in Steven Stamkos, but he has seriously dropped off this year. I think we need to trade for a high-impact left wing that can play center, if I'm being totally honest. And I accidentally turned my phone off because I am a silly turkey. Okay, let's get one more question. Will he fit under the cap once we get Crosby? No, he won't. But I think that the likelihood of us getting Sidney Crosby is about as likely as me deciding that I want to get into a bathtub full of leeches. Like, it's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Agreed on the left wing and C. Yeah, right? Haddocken, who do you think it should be? Who do you think it could be? I'm curious. Anyway, let's wrap up the show. You can find me on all social medias at Lauren and the Six. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on its evil twin that I'm going to be leaving very soon. You can find me on Instagram, but I'm not really active and my account's private. So you're better off finding me on Twitter or on Blue Sky. And if you could leave a like, if you could leave a comment, if you could share this with your friends, it would go a long way. And before I go, I did say that I would tell you my favorite present that I got this year. So my wife got me two very good gifts. She got me the London red phone box Lego set that I'm actually currently building. And then she managed to score me, my darling wife over there on the couch. She managed to actually buy me a Pip-Boy from Fallout, one of the actual replicas from Bethesda. It cost a lot of money, and it will be here in February, and I couldn't be more excited. So I hope that you got as spoiled as I did for Christmas. Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, like I said, Happy Holidays. You've been watching Game Over Toronto. I've loved having you here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and the boys will be back tomorrow when the Leafs take on the Washington Capitals, again without Austin Matthews, but maybe they can squeak out another 2 points and hold on to the division lead over Boston. Have yourself a wonderful night, and we will see you all very, very soon.